Twitch. Let's see. Channel. Okay. So we're live. Turn this up. Okay. This is not really meant to be a stream necessarily, but I was going to record a brain dump on what I'm doing with my 7 Days to Die mod. It's not a tutorial because I have no idea what's going on, but for my own sake, I'm going to dump what I do know and what I figured out. So I suppose probably the first thing should be to just run this. I installed an autoplay mod so that, and I added some settings so that the splash screen doesn't come up and the news doesn't come up. How do I mute myself? I can't get out of this screen. For a sec. Let's do that. Just hide some stuff. Okay, let's show that again. Okay. I don't know if you can hear the game sound. I don't really care. So yeah, it auto starts the game for you, which is really nice. It goes into your last save game, so I don't have to do anything. So I've made this. I used AI. Full disclosure, I'm using Claude Code with Opus 4.6 to make this auto miner. And what it does is it mines wherever you place it. I think this is auto miner. Can't remember which one's which. Let's see. Yeah, orange. Okay, so if I place this, I think, I don't know, we'll do here. It should start digging a hole. Yeah. So the auto miner will dig a hole, and the stuff will go into the inventory. Anything that it has to break, it'll break the block and put it in the inventory. But if it gets across anything that's metal, the metal will go into the box. And stones. See, so there's our scrap iron. So then we can take you can get storage, and you can send your, if you hold down E, you get the radial menu, you can set your output to the storage. This is how I'm planning to do conveyor belts for now. And then if you set your output of your storage, you can set that to a smelter. And it looks like you can just click, you don't have a radial menu to connect it to the smelter. But if you do, once you've set the output, that's a bug. Once you've linked the storage to the smelter, you can link the smelter to an output, and then we should see anything that's not scrap iron flow through to here, but we'll see the scrap iron go up. So this is a satisfactory style mod. So you're auto mining, digging a hole, and it actually digs the hole. Whoa! Can I put a, how do I fly? Yeah, H. Okay. So that works. However, okay, so yeah, that's the mod. So I'll just explain the mod for my own sake. So how do we do that? So I used Claude Code and told it what I wanted, and it made this new project. So it's a VS Code project. You can see the CS proj here. And it went and made me, I guess the start, where you would start is there's this mod API. And apparently if you extend, or if you implement this interface, iMod API, oh yeah, there's nobody chatting yet. If you implement this, then when you, I don't know how exactly it links up. Maybe if you put any DLL in your mod folder. Okay, so let's back up a step. This is why I'm recording the video. If you go into your mod info, for every mod in 7 days, you have to have this mod info file, and it calls it Satisfactory Automation. Now, I don't know if that matters, but we export, let's see, where's our deploy? Our deploy script creates this DLL. I guess it's because of the namespace. I don't know. But you do .NET build on this project. Maybe the project says what the DLL is going to be called. Oh yeah, here we go. Assembly name. Satisfactory Automation. So you make, oh, and then you have this, we're doing everything in this namespace. So we create this DLL, Satisfactory Automation, and we copy it to our mod folder. And I don't know if the name of the mod links up to the DLL that it loads, or it will just load any DLL in your mod folder. But it seems like 7 days opens up that DLL and runs. It'll automatically look for this mod, anything that implements iMod API, and run the functions in mod API. So we have an instance of a Harmony object. So we use the Harmony lib. Apparently that allows you to patch into the game. And in our init mod, we create a new Harmony instance with, I don't know what that name is, where that comes from. And we patch the mod API assembly. I don't know. We get the type of it, and we gets the system reflection assembly. I don't know. We patch it, and then we say, what's mod events? Where does mod events come from? I don't know. Maybe that's part of Harmony. I don't know. But you can register handlers. So then when the game starts, when the game is finished starting, then our mod API class will run, and it will dump our OR mappings and load our saves. So that's where it gets into the C# code. And then it does, I have a bunch of classes that Claude made for handling the miner, the smelter, the storage, which is a conveyor, and there's some extra logic in here and stuff like that. So anyways, that's how the DLL runs. And then we've got some XML for the mod. And so we create these blocks, and the blocks use an existing model, which is the wooden chest prefab. And attaches a class from the DLL to that. So that's the namespace, and then I guess a sub namespace. So this is our blocks here. So we have namespace is satisfactory automation.blocks. So we can attach the code to this block, and we can use an existing prefab, which is a Unity thing. It's a bunch of stuff packaged up in a, basically, like, it's like a class in programming. You can create instances of that prefab, and if you change the class, it can change the instances, or you can change the instances by themselves. So we use an existing model, and we add our own code to it. And I don't know what a lot of this stuff does. Some of it's, obvious. Like, I don't know why the group is electricity. I think that's for later, when I was going to add, like, wiring these things up together. So we have 3 different new blocks. And then some items. I don't know what these are for. I'm guessing they're for dropped items, like the backpack or something. Or maybe it's just if you drop it on the ground, it becomes a sack. That's probably what that is. And then I'm guessing you get no loot, just some sounds and stuff for those containers, and then how to build the containers, the recipes. So Claude Code did all of this. I'm just looking at it after the fact. But then I wanted to go make I wanted to change the container so that it had an arrow on it, and this is where things got wild. So I guess I could go to, let's turn this off for now. I just don't want to show anything I'm not supposed to show. So let's do, I think it was in pictures. Here we go. Okay. So I just took this, I used something called Asset Ripper to get the assets out of, and I guess I can show that. Here is, this is not super easy to figure out. So Asset Ripper is a program that runs, I'm not sure if it's a shell script or what, or how I ran it. Let me double check. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure how I ran it, but you connect to it. It runs on a port on your machine, so you connect to it, and then you can go, let's see, view home. You can see which files you load. So you go over here and you load some files or a folder. So I loaded up the loot containers. I wonder if I can see it here. Yeah. If you go to if you go into the 7 Days to Die data, addressable standalone automatic asset entities, and you go into this loot containers bundle, I loaded that into this Asset Ripper, and then it just says you wait a little while, and you say view loaded files, and it'll show you what's in there. And it's not super obvious how it all works, but if you do go into an object, you can see if it has an image, you can see the image. So let's see if we go to a class, if we go to a texture, you can actually go in here and see the image of that texture. And you can save the raw data, but I don't know what that saved raw data is. It didn't seem, if I threw a PNG file extension on it, it didn't seem to give me anything, right? Like it wasn't a valid PNG, and it didn't seem to be a valid, I don't know, whatever, some other kind of file type. So you can't just view it here. You have to go to export. And I don't know what the difference is. This is the Unity version. I don't know why, I don't know what the difference between export all files and what this is. But if you export it, then you end up getting all these files, and one of them will be the PNG file for the 2D textures. So you can actually go edit that. So I grab that and I go to edit it. But now you have to go into Unity. So I couldn't install Unity. I think you have to use Unity 2022.3 to edit 7 Days to Die assets and to export a bundle, which is going to be a file that's like .unity3d or something. That's going to have all your assets in it that you can, when you go into your, let's see, when you go into your blocks and you reference the model, you can actually, I think, reference your Unity 3D file or whatever it is, and then pull out prefabs out of that file. And so how do you make that? You have to go into you have to use Unity, and I think you have to use 2022.3, and you have to have this export script that'll export it as a bundle. But Unity 2022.3 wouldn't run on the Mac version I'm using, which is I think Tahoe, and it wouldn't run on Ubuntu 22, which I have. I think you have to use Ubuntu 18 or 20, and I had to use an older version of Mac OS. So I used this UTM virtual machine thing from Apple and went and found some file that I had to have that would let me run an older version of Mac, and then I ran I installed Unity Hub in there. So here we can see there's this Mac, and I installed Unity Hub, and then inside Unity Hub I added an installation. I think you can go to installs, and I said install editor, and I picked 2022.3 62F3, and then I wasn't able to open up Unity still. It would crash, but Claude helped me figure out that one of the package manager executable was compiled for x86-64, and so I needed to install Rosetta on my VM in order to open it up. So I finally figured that out. Then once you get into the editor, I'm not a video game developer. I have no idea how to use Unity, but you have this hierarchy of stuff in your whatever your scene is, and that can be assets, or I think it can be code or whatever, and it can be prefabs. And so I loaded in a bunch of things. Like this was the Wooden Chest 01 prefab.prefab, and there's some other Wooden Chest 01.prefab. I don't know what the deal is there. And then some like normal maps and stuff for figuring out how to draw the textures with like actual like texture. And then the texture that I had edited. So you can see it here. It's got the arrow. So that's about as far as I got. So now apparently you can get, you can just drag and drop a CS file or a zip file into your assets, and that will add a menu item for export. So I have to do that. And then I can export that as a Unity 3D file, and then I can reference it in my blocks XML. But then one of the things I don't know is it looks like with this prefab, it doesn't have some code that it's supposed to have. So get out of here. So somewhere in here, oh, it was telling me before that there's the module which implements this component type has been force excluded in your player settings. Yeah, there was another thing in here that where I had missing scripts. I guess double clicking adds it to your. Oh, I see. No, I've gone from my scene mode into my. Let's see if I just drag that here. So if I drag it here. Yeah, somewhere in here I found that I had missing scripts. Maybe it was this one. Yeah, this one has levels of detail, a level of detail group. I don't know any of this stuff. But there was, yeah, I had some scripts. It was saying that you don't have the proper scripts for this thing. So I think that covers everything I've done. That's about as far as I've got. Yeah, I think that's good. I just wanted to kind of brain dump all the stuff I had found.